Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. The date was February 26, 2011, and the location was the Blackheath area of London, the capital of England. It was around 2 a.m. and the London City Police were patrolling the streets of Blackheath. That's when a police officer noticed a large amount of smoke right in the middle of the road, and upon following the smoke, the police also spotted a car that was on fire. The officers immediately called the London Fire Brigade to the scene, and with their help, the fire was quickly brought under control. After extinguishing the fire, the police found out it was a blue Mercedes. At first glance, the car appeared completely empty. There was no one in the driver's seat or the passenger seat. Following this, Chief Inspector Damien Allain and his team were called in to investigate the cause of the fire. The car was burned, but not completely. Then, when the inspector opened the trunk while searching the vehicle, he found a dead body inside. The body was in extremely bad condition and had been stuffed inside the trunk in a fetal position. Additionally, the hands and feet were tied with plastic zip ties. Initially, the police thought it might be a minor crime, but now it had become a murder case. However, even after thoroughly inspecting the car, Inspector Damien couldn't find any weapon or ID card as evidence. Fortunately, the car's license plate wasn't completely burned, and when the police traced the plate number, they found out the car was registered under the name Gagandeep. After discovering this around 5 a.m. on February 26th, the police reached the home address listed on the license in the town of Blackheath. When they knocked on the door, an elderly woman opened it. The police asked her who Gagandeep Kaur was and where she was at that moment. Surprised to see the police at her door so early in the morning, the woman became slightly anxious. She then told the police, "I am Gagandeep's mother, Tajinder Kaur, and my daughter is at home right now." The police then sat down with Tajinder Kaur and Gagandeep and asked them, "We found your blue Mercedes burning about 7 miles from here in the Blackheath area. Can you tell us how your car ended up there and how it caught fire?" In response, Gagandeep Kaur told the police that her older brother, Gagandeep Singh, had taken her car last night, February 25th, to attend a party. Hearing this, the police began to suspect that the body found in the car might be Gagandeep Singh's. Gagandeep also tried calling her brother, but he didn't answer any of her calls. Seeing this, the police officers, wanting to clear their doubts, asked Gagandeep's mother and sister for his comb and toothbrush for a short time. Hearing this, Tajinder Kaur and Gagandeep were just as shocked as you might be right now, but the police wanted to match the DNA from the comb and toothbrush with the dead body recovered from the trunk of the blue Mercedes. But now, Gagandeep's worried mother, Tajinder Kaur, told her daughter Gagandeep, "Call Gagandeep's friends and ask them where he is." First, Gagandeep calls Harvinder Shoker, her brother Gagandeep's best friend. In fact, Gagandeep and Harvinder had met when Harvinder was struggling to find a job in England because of his turban and beard. But since Gagandeep was now managing his family business, he got Harvinder a job in his own office. Working in the same office and coming from the same background made their bond even stronger. Eventually, Harvinder and Gagandeep started visiting each other's homes occasionally, and Gagandeep's mother, Tajinder Kaur, had even started seeing Harvinder like her own younger son. But now that Gagandeep was missing and his sister had called Harvinder to ask about her brother, Harvinder laughed in response. Gagandeep, surprised, said, "Harvinder, I'm serious. I'm not joking. My brother has been missing since last night." But Harvinder said he didn't know anything about Gagandeep and then ended the call. Gagandeep then called several of her brother's other friends, and during that time, one of Gagandeep's friends said, "Maybe he went to his female friend Mundal Mahil's house, though I had told him not to go there." After that call, Gagandeep called her brother's friend Mundal Mahil. Mahil said she hadn't seen Gagandeep in months and didn't know where he was. But Amandeep told her that she knew he had come to her house, one of his friends had told her. Mahil then replied in a very indifferent tone, "Yes, he came to my house, but he left from outside." They didn't talk much after that, and Amandeep hung up the call, but she felt more unsettled speaking to Harvinder and Mundil Mahil than she had with any of her brother's other friends. Around this time, one of Gagandeep's friends suggested that Amandeep try using the internet. So they began posting on WhatsApp and Facebook, sharing posts and stories pleading for help in finding Gagandeep. Unfortunately, they didn't receive any responses. Meanwhile, a forensic team was working to match the DNA of the body found in the car with Gagandeep's hair and toothbrush. At the same time, a police team began checking CCTV cameras around the scene. In one CCTV footage, the police saw two people running away after setting fire to the blue Mercedes. It wasn't even clear whether they were men or women. However, after analyzing the footage for some time, investigators noticed that one of the individuals was wearing a turban, the same kind of turban that Gagandeep used to wear. To confirm their suspicion, the investigators showed the CCTV footage to Gagandeep's mother and sister, and they too felt that the man in the footage looked like Gagandeep. But the next day, on February 27, 2011, the DNA report arrived and shattered everyone's hopes. When forensic experts compared the DNA from the dead body's teeth with Gagandeep's toothbrush, the results were positive. This clearly meant that the body found in the Mercedes was indeed Gagandeep's. Now, this information had to be given to the police and the family, but this news was going to be a huge shock for both Gagandeep's mother and sister. In fact, the police had already found out that Gagandeep's mother, Tajinder Kaur, was a heart patient, and so they had her admitted to the hospital in advance. A team of doctors was already present there, and that's when the police officers informed her that the half-burnt dead body found in the Mercedes car around midnight the previous day had now been confirmed through DNA reports to be Gagandeep's. After that, when the police officers described the condition of Gagandeep's body to his mother and sister, Tajinder Kaur had to remain hospitalized for several days. Meanwhile, her daughter Amandeep Kaur stayed silent for 2 days without speaking to anyone. But then came Gagandeep's post-mortem report, which clearly stated that he had been severely beaten before being set on fire. He had been hit so hard on the head that his brain had swollen far beyond its normal size. The post-mortem report also revealed that Gagandeep's lungs were filled with ash. This clearly meant that when his body was set on fire in the car, he was still alive and breathing. Now, what death could be more horrifying than being burned alive? To understand what happened next, we'll have to start this story from Gagandeep's childhood. Gagandeep Singh was born in 1988 into a Sikh family, and his parents were well settled in the Blackheath area of South London, England. Gagandeep was the first child of his mother, Tajinder, and father, Charanjit Singh, and everyone who loved him dearly used to call him Gagan. From childhood, Gagan was not only mischievous, but also a bright kid. When he was just 3 years old in 1991, his younger sister, Amandeep, was born. After his younger sister came into the family, Gagandeep became even more mischievous, but he always looked out for her. On the other hand, their parents, Charanjit Singh and Tajinder Kaur, had established a successful recruitment agency in England with over 300 employees. Since there was no one at home to take care of the kids after school, Charanjit Singh used to take both children to his office. Tajinder Kaur, while being a housewife, also helped her husband in the business. Since Gagandeep and his sister, Amandeep, used to be at their father's office after coming back from school, Gagandeep started using the office computer and gradually developed an interest in the work from the age of 8. Although the family belonged to the Sikh community from the beginning, neither Charanjit Singh wore a turban, nor did he ever make his son. But before moving forward, let me tell you that Sikhism is an Indian religion and philosophy that originated in the Punjab region of Indian subcontinent around the end of 15th century. But Gagandeep Singh came to understand his religion quite late. In fact, when Gagandeep was 17 years old, during his summer vacation from school, he went to India with his parents. While living there with some of his relatives, he learned many things about his Sikh faith, and it was then that he decided to become an Amritdhari Sikh. After that, he began following the 5 Ks of Sikhism like every baptized Sikh. Now, all of Gagandeep's friends and even his own family saw him in a new form, but his parents were very happy with his decision. Everything was going well, but in 2009, an incident occurred that completely changed the lives of Gagan and the rest of his family. In fact, in September 2009, Gagandeep's father once again traveled to India. But this time, Charanjit's purpose was to review the properties he had purchased in Punjab. While living in England, Charanjit had earned a lot of money through his business, but he was originally from the state of Punjab in India. So, like every businessman, Charanjit also decided to grow his assets by investing some money in properties in Punjab. For this, he used to send money to a friend living in Punjab named Kamal Kishore, and through this process he gradually sent him 3.5 million Indian rupees. At that time, 3.5 million Indian rupees was a significant amount. However, when he went to India from England in September 2009 to see his properties, he discovered that his friend Kamal had betrayed him and purchased all the property in his own name. This made him furious, and he told Kamal that he would take him to court with all the evidence. Upon hearing this, Kamal Kishore panicked and decided to have Charanjit Singh killed. He then hired a contract killer, and on September 28, 2009, when Charanjit Singh stepped out of a wedding venue in Punjab after attending a ceremony, the contract killer shot him right there. But when the police conducted their investigation, all these facts came to light. Due to their father's death, Gagandeep and his sister Amandeep lost their father's presence at a very young age. Moreover, upon hearing about her husband's murder, Tajinder Kaur suffered a heart attack and had to be admitted to the hospital, where she remained under treatment for several months. Meanwhile, the eldest son of the family, Gagandeep Singh, had to cope with the grief of his father's death, while also managing the entire business. Gagandeep bravely faced every difficult moment and began working tirelessly, just like his father. Gagandeep had been raised with such noble values since childhood that he was always ready to help others. Serving at the nearby Gurdwara and feeding the needy had become a part of his daily routine. Gagandeep's family business began to soar, and after some time, along with managing his father's business, he also launched a satellite television channel named CCTV. In 2011, he also served as the president of the British Sikh Student Federation, and during his time there, Gagandeep helped many students from his community. For instance, once Gagandeep met a boy named Harvinder, whose family had recently moved from India to England. But the boy couldn't find a job because of his beard and turban. Gagandeep helped him and got him a job in his own office. But while Gagandeep was rising in his career, he fell in one-sided love with a girl. This happened in August 2009 when 19-year-old Gagandeep was at a friend's party and saw a beautiful 18-year-old girl named Mundil Mahil. But at that time, Gagandeep didn't have the courage to talk to her. Mahil was the youngest daughter in a religious middle-class Sikh family. Her father owned a B&B hotel, her elder sister was a doctor. One brother was a police officer and the other was a medical student. Mundil Mahil was a studious girl who dreamed of becoming a doctor like her sister. She was friendly, cheerful, and had a lot of friends. Still, Gagandeep somehow managed to find out Mundil Mahil's name, and then, after returning home, began searching for her on Facebook. After a few minutes of effort, he found her Facebook account and, after thinking for a while, sent her a friend request. When Mahil saw the friend request, she noticed that Harvinder Shoker was also in Gagandeep's friend list. Since Harvinder was Mahil's childhood friend, she asked him what kind of person Gagandeep was before accepting the request. In response, Harvinder praised Gagandeep, who had become his friend not long ago, and said he was a decent, mature, and trustworthy guy. After hearing this, Mahil formed a good impression of Gagandeep in her mind and accepted his friend request. After that, the two began chatting on Facebook, and later they also met a few times in real life. After some time, Gagandeep also mentioned Mahil to his mother, but his family didn't like Mahil at all. In fact, Gagandeep's mother would often tell him that even though the girl belonged to their religion, she wasn't religious at all. She went to clubs and attended house parties with boys, so he shouldn't waste his time on her. But when it comes to love, the heart often wins over the mind, and in this case, too, Gagandeep didn't listen to his mother and kept insisting that she didn't know Mahil and that she was a good girl whom he liked. What's important to note is that London, England, is among the top 10 cities in the world with the most CCTV cameras installed. That's why, in the investigation of Gagandeep Singh's death, the London police started using the city's cameras to track all the locations he visited on the night of February 25th, 2011. In addition, detectives used the city's automatic number plate recognition system to find out that Gagandeep's car had stayed for a long time in the city of Brighton on the night of February 25th. But the distance between Bexley Heath, where Gagandeep lived, and Brighton is about 63 miles, which takes roughly an hour and a half to cover. So the question was, why had Gagandeep gone there? To find out, detectives checked the footage from every CCTV camera along the route. During this, they discovered that Gagandeep had stopped at a store along the way, where he bought a teddy bear, a bouquet of flowers, and some chocolates. Reviewing more CCTV footage, detectives learned that on February 25th, Gagandeep had gone to the house of his friend, Mundil Mahil. In fact, due to her studies, Mundil Mahil lived in that house with 8 of her female classmates. Here, the police question Mahil, and then she tells the police, yes, it's true that on the night of February 25th, Gagandeep came outside my house with his car. But he didn't come inside. After talking for a while, he left from outside. And after that, I didn't meet Gagan again. But at this very point, when Amandeep hears Mahil's name from the police, she tells them that when Gagandeep was nowhere to be found and she was calling his friends to ask about him, she had also called Mundil Mahil. But then Amandeep tells the police that Mahil first told her that Gagan didn't come to her house. However, the very next moment she changed her statement and said that he did come, but only spoke to her from outside and then left. Now, when Amandeep tells the police that Mahil had changed her statement, the police begin to suspect Mundil Mahil for the first time. After this, when the police team goes to Mahil's house again, this time they do not find her there. But the officers decide to question Mahil's other classmates and neighbors living around her house. When the police talk to Mahil's neighbors, they learn that around 12 a.m. on February 25th, they heard some screaming sounds from Mahil's house. Additionally, one of the neighbors tells the police that he saw, from his window, 2 boys carrying a heavy object out of Mahil's house and placing it into the trunk of a car. But when that neighbor noticed this strange activity, he noted down the license plate number of that car. The police then ask the neighbor to show them the number, and when he does, the police recognize that the number belongs to Gagandeep's car. This directly raises suspicion on Mundil Mahil, but before taking any action, the police decide to talk to Mahil's 8 classmates. Upon speaking with them, the police learned that on February 25th, Mahil had requested all her classmates not to come to the ground floor that night, as she had something important to do. Moreover, the girls tell the police that around 11:30 p.m., while they were asleep, they suddenly heard loud noises of things being thrown and someone screaming from the ground floor. But since Mahil had told them all not to come downstairs, none of the girls went down. One of the girls informs the police that around 9 p.m. on February 25th, Mahil had gone to the railway station. After receiving this information, the police go to the railway station and check all the CCTV cameras there. In one of the footages, Mahil's car is traced. In the next footage, Mahil is seen walking alone toward the station. And in the third footage, she is seen laughing and talking with two boys. This CCTV footage was much clearer than the one found at the place where Gagandeep's car was found burning. The police then show this CCTV footage to Gagandeep's family. At first glance, they immediately recognize the boy wearing the turban walking with Mahil in the footage as Harvinder Shokar. From here, a new twist appears in the case because the boy seen in the CCTV footage with Mahil was the same Harvinder who used to come to Gagandeep's house daily. Gagan's mother even considered Harvinder as her second son, and now he might have had a hand in Gagan's murder. Now here, Gagan's sister Amandeep also tells the police that when she was calling Gagan's friends after he went missing, she had also called Harvinder. But upon hearing about Gagan's disappearance, Harvinder laughed out loud, which clearly upset Amandeep, because by then Harvinder had become a family friend. After hearing all of this, the police go straight to Harvinder Shokar's house and arrest him. They then ask him who the third person with him at the railway station was. Harvinder tells the police that the third guy's name is Darren Peters and that he is a friend of his. Besides this, when the police ask Harvinder about Gagandeep, he refuses to give any answers. That's when the police become certain that Harvinder is definitely hiding something about Gagandeep's death. However, after Harvinder Shokar's statement, the police also arrest Darren Peters. During the search of Peters' house, the police find 2 cans of petrol, which later become crucial evidence in proving that Gagandeep's car was burned. Apart from this, when the police check the call detail records of the second main suspect, Harvinder Shokar, they find a call recording. In that call recording, he is heard saying to Mahil, "I could go to jail for 21 years for you, but will you wait for me?" Now, as more and more shocking revelations came out in this case, it started being broadcast on every news channel in England with photos of all 3 suspects. In such a situation, it became difficult for Mahil to stay out of trouble, so she herself came forward to the police with a false story. Mahil tells the police that on February 25th, Gagandeep had come to her house, met her briefly outside, and then left. But now she has found out from the news that Gagandeep is dead, and she feels that since Gagandeep was the president of the British Sikh Students' Federation, maybe some people who were jealous of him did this to him. But by this time, the London police had already come to know a lot about Mahil, like her visit to the train station, the screaming heard from her room on the night of February 25th, the heavy items Harvinder and Peters were seen placing in Gagandeep's car trunk, and then Gagandeep's body being found in that very trunk. That's why the police now question Mahil strictly, after which she gives a new statement to the police. However, how truthful this statement from Mundil Mahil really is cannot be confirmed, because Gagandeep is no longer with us to tell his side of the story. In fact, Mahil tells the police that one night in August 2010, Gagandeep came to her house uninvited. That night, Mahil was preparing for her upcoming exams. Suddenly, she heard the doorbell. When she opened the door, Gagan was standing there. He had some flowers in his hand and had come that night to wish her good luck for her exams. After that, the two had a normal conversation for a while, and then when Gagandeep tried to start his car to leave, the headlights didn't work. Gagandeep then told Mahil that his headlights were not working, and because of the darkness, it would be hard for him to drive home. He asked if he could stay at her place for the night. Seeing him as a good friend, Mahil allowed him to stay and asked him to sleep on the couch outside her room for the night. Mahil then tells the police that around midnight, Gagan got up from the sofa and came into her room, where he tried to cross some lines. But when Mahil woke up, she slapped Gagan hard and pushed him, telling him to leave her house. At that moment, Gagandeep was very embarrassed and apologized to Mahil. However, after that incident, Mahil no longer wanted to speak to him and even threatened to call the police, which made Gagan quickly flee the scene. Even after that night, Gagan continued to call and text Mahil to apologize. But after what he had done, Mundil Mahil cut off all contact with him. But even this time, the police didn't believe Mahil because during a search of her phone records, they discovered that she had invited Gagan to her house on February 25th. In fact, the police found a text message from Mundil Mahil to Gagan, in which she was asking him to come over to her flat to talk. In response, Gagan had replied, "Can we talk civil, or do you just want me dead?" This led the police to interrogate Mahil more firmly, and eventually she gave them a new statement. Mahil now told the police that she hadn't been able to forget Gagan's attempt to rape, and she wanted to teach him a lesson. She had even told Harvinder Shokar about what Gagandeep had done. During this interrogation, it was also revealed that Harvinder Shokar had feelings for Mahil, and when he found out that Gagan had tried to do something wrong to her, he became extremely angry. He then teamed up with Mahil to plan a way to punish Gagan so severely that he would be scared to ever talk to a girl again. After that, Mahil texted Gagan and invited him over under the pretense of talking, and seeing her message made Gagan very happy. He was in love with Mahil and also wanted to talk to her after the exam night incident, at least that's what Mahil claimed. Then, around 7 p.m. on February 25th, Gagan told his mother and sister that he was going to a friend's party. But since his own BMW was at the mechanic for repairs, he asked his sister if he could take her Mercedes for the night. Before leaving, Gagandeep hugged his mother and said, "Mom, don't wait up for me. You both go to sleep. I'll be late and come straight in the morning." But little did his mother know that it would be the last time she hugged her son. After that, when Gagan parked his car outside Mahil's house and entered her flat, she took him into her room. But inside the room, Harvinder Shokar and Darren Peters were already waiting for him. As soon as Gagan entered, both of them immediately attacked him while Mahil stood there watching. For about 20 minutes, Harvinder and Peters kept punching, kicking, and beating Gagandeep with a camera tripod. During this time, Gagan saw his best friend Harvinder attacking him and kept calling out Mahil's name for help. After that, Harvinder and Peters tied up Gagandeep's hands and feet. Then they wrapped his body in Mahil's bed blanket and put it in the trunk of his own Mercedes. After this, both of them travel again for an hour and a half from Brighton to Blackheath. Then they park the Mercedes on a deserted road, place 2 petrol cans on it, and set it on fire. Many criminals believe that if a body is set on fire, nothing will remain, and the human body will turn completely to ashes. However, these illiterate criminals don't realize that the human body contains more than 60% water, which makes it difficult to burn. Though many pieces of evidence are destroyed by the fire, the body of Gagan didn't burn entirely, which ultimately led to the capture of the 3 killers, Mahil, Harvinder, and Peters. On May 13, 2011, Gagandeep Singh's funeral was conducted on a large scale in the Woolwich area. A significant number of people attended his final journey, including his family members, people from his family business, all members of the British Sikh Student Federation, and some relatives from India. Additionally, on December 5, 2011, the trial for this case began in the famous Old Bailey Court in London. However, the 3 killers were not ready to confess to their crime in court. Mahil's defense lawyer claimed that on the night of February 25, 2011, his client did not beat Gagandeep. She only wanted Harvinder to scare him and teach him a lesson. Harvinder Shokar's defense lawyer argued that his client never intended to kill Gagan. Darren Peters' lawyer claimed that he had only put Gagandeep's dead body in the car's boot at Harvinder's request. He had not killed Gagandeep because he had no personal enmity with him. But the prosecutor fighting on behalf of Gagandeep's side stated Gagandeep's murder was a premeditated conspiracy. Mundil Mahil and her friends tortured Gagan for 20 minutes to take revenge. However, if Mahil, Harvinder, and Peters had wanted, they could have just beaten up Gagan and left him. That's why all three of them should be punished for what they did, because none of them are innocent. The trial lasted for 3 months, and finally, on February 24, 2012, the court sentenced Harvinder Shokar to 22 years for Gagandeep Singh's murder. Darren Peters was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and Mundil Mahil was sentenced to just 6 years. However, after hearing the court's decision, the people who stood with Gagandeep began protesting outside Old Bailey Court. It was said that this was not justice, and since Mundil Mahil was also involved in Gagan's murder, she should have received at least a 22-year prison sentence. Furthermore, in 2014, in the case of Gagandeep's father, Charanjit Singh's murder, 2 accused were sentenced to life imprisonment. However, Mundil Mahil served only 3 years of her 6-year sentence and was released from jail in 2014. She then graduated in philosophy, politics, and economics from King's College London. In 2016, she married an emerging politician from London, Gagandeep Singh, and then began living a happy life with her family. But when Mahil's husband became the mayor of the Redbridge area in 2009, Gagan's sister Amandeep filed a petition demanding her brother's killer's husband be removed from the mayoral position. Amandeep ran several campaigns for this petition, and many people started supporting her. After this, Gagandeep Singh came under so much political pressure that he had to resign from his position. However, the reason Mundil Mahil gave to the police for killing Gagandeep is still unclear. And to understand the other side of that, Gagandeep is no longer with us today. After all, every criminal can come up with any theory to save themselves. Furthermore, the house where Mahil lived was shared with 8 of her other classmates. So, when Gagandeep stayed at her house the night before the exam, those 8 classmates must have been present there too. This raises the question, did any of Mahil's friends not see her shouting at Gagan or throwing him out of the house at that time? But after Gagandeep Singh's death, the lives of his mother and sister have come to a standstill. Additionally, Gagan's mother, Tajinder Kaur, says that she is 100% sure that her son Gagan did not try to force himself on Mahil. Gagan was not a shameless boy. He could never have done such a low act under any circumstances. Gagan's mother and sister still keep his room decorated exactly as it was before. They have also built a small memorial in their garden in Gagandeep's name, where they often go to lose themselves in memories of him. So with that, the Gagandeep Singh murder case comes to an end right here. If you appreciate our efforts, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Thank you.